Hello everybody, welcome to Module 3. We just finished Module 2 where we looked at the concept of American culture and different cultures in the United States. In this module we are going to be looking at ethnocentrism, racism and discrimination in society and in schools. Now, in a country like the United States where there are different cultures, there are interactions among different cultures. And in such a setting, it is possible that some people see differences as differences, and some people may see differences as one being superior, one being inferior. Now, ethnocentric view simply suggests that one background or one culture or one worldview is better than others. One is inferior, one is superior, and it's not a desirable way of looking at things, at least from a cultural point of view. The problem with ethnocentric view is that it leads to stereotypes, and stereotypes are generalizations about people, and these generalizations are usually based on very limited information, and most of us know stereotypes. Some of us, probably all of you, can name some stereotypes about different people in the United States. And for example, I don't want to go through a whole list of stereotypes, but some of the well-known stereotypes in the United States, for example, young African American males are potential criminals. That's a stereotype. One general stereotype about Hispanics would be that they are all Mexican, they are all tomato pickers, they are lazy. Some common stereotypes about white Americans: they are all racist, they are all arrogant, they are all rich. These are different stereotypes, and you can name more, and probably all of you know some of these stereotypes, which doesn't mean that you believe or you act upon these stereotypes, but they exist, and we learn these stereotypes most of the time from media, and in some cases we learn these from our friends, from our family. Now, as I said, all of us at least know some stereotypes. I'm not suggesting that you act upon stereotypes, but the problem with stereotypes is that if stereotypical views impact the way you act around people, then it becomes a problem. In your everyday affairs, if you choose to interact with certain types of people, that's at personal level. You cannot really hurt a lot of people. But if such views get into somebody's practice, then they become institutional, and it becomes an institutional level discrimination. To illustrate this point, if a imaginary teacher thinks that young African American males are potential criminals, and if this teacher has African American males in the classroom, probably this teacher will have some negative views about these students, and he or she will act upon these views. Ultimately, stereotypes impact a teacher's expectations, and when the expectations are manipulated, the outcomes that you get from students will be different. Probably you all heard the term self-fulfilling prophecy, which is a term related to teacher expectations. When teachers have the wrong expectations, they act according to their expectations, which communicates a message to the students, and then students start acting based upon the teacher's expectations, which ultimately leads to low performance on students' parts. So stereotypes are things that good to know, but that one should avoid looking at other people based upon stereotypes. That was one of the reasons in the previous module you had an assignment that asked you to look at yourself as a cultural being and reflect upon your views. Cultural differences should be viewed as differences, not as judgments of inferiority or superiority. Now, one of the concepts that you are going to be introduced to in this module is white privilege. White privilege, simply as the name of the concept suggests, it suggests that whites have certain privileges just because they are whites. Now, the point of this concept is not to induce any guilt, because white privilege as a practice is carried on carried out by not only whites, by others too. And I will give you a personal example in a few minutes. There is one article in the module that was written in 1980s by a white lady, Peggy McIntosh, and she simply reflects upon her life and thinks of the things that she could get easily just because she was white, and if she were black, for example, that she would not be able to get. That's a very insightful article that has been around for a long time, and it must have cited in 1 million different places. It's a really well-known article. I would like you to read it carefully and think about what you read. Now, one other reading that we have in the module, the title is "Are Emily and Greg More Employable Than Lakeisha and Jamal?" And this article is based on a field experiment in the job market. I don't want to give you too many details, but this article shows how people get different responses to a job application based upon their names. And if you paid attention to the names, Emily, Greg, Lakeisha, Jamal, those are very, very white sounding and black sounding names. So people manipulated the names to manipulate people's expectations, and the outcomes of the study were really amazing. So please pay attention to that article also. The readings you're going to have from spring article will give you a good perspective about the dynamics of the interactions in society and issues of racism and discrimination. Nobody wants racism or discrimination, and in some cases these things happen not intentionally. Sometimes people discriminate against others without knowing that they are discriminating, and in some cases they do this thinking that they are doing a favor to a student. Because they care about a student, they do certain things which ends up being a discrimination. Going back to the idea of stereotypes, some stereotypes could be positive. An example is the general stereotypes about Asian Americans. They are known to be really good at math, obedient, hardworking. These are stereotypes. These are characteristics that can describe some Asian Americans, but not all of them. And then if a teacher gets an Asian American in the classroom and thinks that, you know, this student fits the stereotypes, the teacher may not pay attention to the student because thinks that this is a wonderful student, and the student may actually need a lot of help. So even if you have positive stereotypes, that would they might still hurt a student. So these are things to really avoid. You have one assignment in this module, and that is the multicultural book report. This is a really fun assignment. This will be probably one of the most fun assignments that you've ever done, or you will have ever done. You're going to read a chapter book, and I sent you a list of suggested chapter books. You can pick one of those, or if you want to pick one of your own books, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that it's a chapter book, which is appropriate for upper elementary or, you know, early middle grades. And then after reading this book, you're going to summarize the book as part of your assignment. After summarizing, you're going to provide your personal reaction to the book. You liked it, you disliked it, why you liked it, why you disliked it. You will explain your reasons. After doing that, you're going to give examples of cases of or instances of racism, discrimination, sexism types of things from the book. And then after that, you're going to discuss how the book can be used in a classroom. And as you do this, you're going to identify a grade level. You will say, I would use this book in a 5th grade classroom, and then you will describe some different ways of using the book in the classroom. And as you do this, I would like you to be as creative as possible. Some of the most traditional ways of using these types of books is to read the book chapter by chapter and discuss each chapter with the students. That's a very traditional way of using it, and I would like you to go beyond that. Find more interesting ways of using the book, and sometimes being a good teacher takes some, you know, imagination, some creativity. So I would like you to think about how you can use the book that you choose for this assignment. And let's see, if you have questions about the book you choose, if you want to run any ideas by me, that's perfectly fine. You can send me an email. The book list that I sent you were books that were read by my students in the past, and I selected the ones that people liked a lot. So if you pick one of the books that I suggested, there's a good chance that you will like the book. They are kind of they are books that I got responses from my former students, so they are good books. Now, one thing I want to say about this assignment is that because you're going to be using a book, make sure that you list this book as a reference. You have a little reference line at the end of your assignment, and list this book as one of your resources. And if you use anything else from the outside, from the internet or any other written resource, make sure that you cite them in the text and provide the reference. For the actual book that you're going to do the assignment on, you don't have to cite it, because I know the assignment is about this book, but you have to list it as a reference and use the APA style. And one last thing about this assignment that I want to say is that one time in the past, couple of years ago, I had one problem with one student who, instead of doing the assignment, found a book report online and submitted that as her own work, which of course ended up being a case of plagiarism and ended up with bad consequences for the student. I'm not suggesting that you would do this, but the point of what I'm saying is that if you use anything from the outside world, from the internet, make sure that you cite everything, because if you don't cite any outside information, that becomes a case of plagiarism. So I would like you to be very, very careful about this. Not only in my class, this is important in any other class. Now, just like the other modules, we are going to have 2 discussions and 2 case studies. I have explained the expectations in my earlier videos, but I'm going to explain the expectations one more time. I think still there are some issues with clarity. There are still some confusions. On the discussion modules, there will be 2 discussion modules. This is the trend. This is what I'm going to do in every single module. There will be 2 discussion forums, and you will see a question submitted by me. And your first job is to respond to my questions, and then you're going to respond to each other after that. Now, what I would like you to do is to respond to my questions by the end of first week of the module, which means by this next Sunday you have to respond to my questions, both of them. And then the second week, I would like you to read each other's responses and talk to one another, respond to one another. Because this is an online class, it's not easy to create an interactive environment, and discussion forums are the only ways I can do this. And unless you post some responses to my questions early on, there is no way for me to create an interactive environment. So you cannot wait until the end of the module to respond to my questions and to respond to one another. So I would like you to respond to my questions by the end of first week, and then use the second week to read each other's responses and talk to one another. The case studies, there are 2 case studies from the teacherserver.com website. The expectation with the case studies is that as you know, these case studies have some kind of question or some kind of dilemma, or a teacher asking for help, whatever response is necessary. I want you to respond to both of these cases, and then I would like you to comment on 2 responses by others for each case. So by the end of the module, you will have 4 comments completed on other people's responses, and then you will complete 2 responses towards the cases that I assigned to you. Let's see what else. I returned your autobiography assignments. I just want to tell you how much I enjoyed reading those. I always do enjoy reading those, assignments, and this time too I learned quite a bit about you and about other things in general. And the new assignment that you will submit at the end of this module, the multicultural book report, that's also one of the assignments that I really enjoy reading, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy writing the assignment. It's really a fun assignment. Let's see. Well, there will be a couple videos that I will be posting on our website and for this module, and these videos are YouTube videos. These were probably some of you have seen this. There was a program on ABC, maybe it's still there, I don't know. The name of the program was What Would You Do? And these are some situations with actors, usually situations about discrimination types of things. I have selected 3 of those videos. These are really interesting videos, how people react to certain situations based upon the person in question being male, female, white, black. So you're going to see some interesting videos. I think I'm going to use one of these videos for one of our discussions, so the response will be about the video. So please make sure that you watch all of these videos and the articles that I'm uploading for you, the one on white privilege and the other one, are Greg and Emily more employable than Lakeisha and Jamal? These are very, very interesting and informative articles, so please read them. And I will say it one more time. When you look into the issue of white privilege, it's easy to think that the whole point behind this is to put some blame on whites. That's really not the point. The point is not to suggest or put forward some blame on people. And I said I would give you a personal example, and you will see from the personal example that white privilege is not only about whites. It's something that's carried out by other people too. And here's my example. This is something that happened maybe 3 years ago. I was coming out of Walmart at a nighttime, maybe 10:30 at night, and I had a couple bags in my hand, and then there was a young African American male walking with me right next to me. I didn't know the guy, he just happened to be walking right next to me. And then as we were coming close to the door, the alarm went off. So we exited right at the same time, but the alarm went off. So either he or I had something in our bags that was not processed, or that was not processed properly. So somebody had something unpaid in the bag, but it could have been either one of us. But he was stopped immediately. Nobody said anything to me. And he was black, I was white, and there's no doubt that my skin saved me in that specific situation. Here's the part. The person that stopped the black guy was a black person too. Now that's my point. When I say white privilege is practiced or carried out by other people, that's white privilege is not only about whites. Other people are involved in this also. So I want you to look at it from that perspective. And these are very, very related to what happens in the classrooms, because some of these issues go into the classroom. Stereotypes go into the classroom, and you learned from our previous module the concept of dominant and dominated cultures, and how dominant culture goes into the schools. A lot of people suggest that what children learn in schools is based upon middle class white male culture. So these are important concepts. Please read everything carefully and reflect upon what you read. And then, well, given the assignments, you're going to have to complete the readings within the first week so that you can respond to the discussion prompts. And as usual, my expectation is that when you respond to the discussions, you use the readings as the basis of your response. So whenever it's appropriate, I want you to refer back to the readings in your discussion postings. This is all I can think of right now. I hope you're going to enjoy Module 3, and then I will talk to you guys when we are about to start Module 4. So goodbye for now.